Hello, all, and welcome back to Unboxing Theories. I bet you didn't think you'd hear from me again. I was actually half pondering maybe I wasn't going to continue doing theories in the next era because the era is very, very different from the history of Kingdom, whereas there's just really not a lot of, I didn't think there was going to be a lot of lore going on. And having watched the music video, I love the song Flip That Coin. Obviously, it's a bop, but I just didn't think I would have a lot of theorizing to do. And, I'm tired. It's a lot of work to theorize, but after watching it, after reading the lyrics, I was like, oh, so We Still Kingdom. Okay, maybe they changed their name and slightly and, changed the vibe, but We Still Kingdom. So I figured this video will probably be much shorter than my other videos because it's a lot of speculation, but why not? I love theorizing and it's been a fun little thing for me. So I don't know that I will be theorizing as much or as often as I was in past eras. History of Kingdom season 1 was full of things to theorize about. I don't know if the kingdom will have as much content for me to theorize over, but Flip That Coin does have some interesting things that I think we should talk about. So we know at this point from what they gave us before that Louis is the only one that is awake to the knowledge that they are these kings, right? At least that's what we've been told. Now, in Flip That Coin, we see a group that is just, I guess they're living in a basement. I don't know. They must be, a very whatever. They're supposed to be a K-pop boy group. I guess this is just their K-pop boy group music video. I don't know. It's hard to tell like what's actually happening and what's them just performing now because I know they are supposed to be just a K-pop boy group. Maybe wherever in this fictional world their company just puts them in a basement. I will say the one thing I was disappointed with was how uninteresting a lot of the settings were. It was like basement, hallway, um, outside in like, everything was very cement blocks and kind of, whatever. But I know that's the aesthetic they were going for, so it's fine. Um, but anyway, so we're aware they're a K-pop group that is living in a basement, and but really interesting stuff did happen. So first I'll go over the lyrics, and then I'll talk a little bit about stuff that I saw that was interesting because we all know that there is stuff that we saw that was interesting. So let's talk about it. So the main theme of Flip That Coin, the lyrics themselves, seems to be this idea of being reborn and of leaving things up to fate. And also, but also the game is in my hands is one of the lyrics. So it's like they're shedding off an old self, which is that their old self being the kings? Is that some level of awareness that they were the kings and they're shedding off their old selves? Or is this them shedding off their old selves as they remember them, like they think they're just regular humans? Are they shedding off that old human self coming into who they really are, which is the kings? I don't know. I think maybe that's looking too much into it, but that's a thought. And uh Wake Me Up is another lyric when they say flip that coin, like wake me up, right before that part. um which is interesting because we know that Louis is his kind of job right now is waking up the other kings to knowing who they are. um and also interesting that fate is a theme. Fate is consistently a theme in History of Kingdom part season 1. So the fact that we're bringing that into season 2, I'm like, ah, chef's kiss, this is Kingdom. Okay, it's beautiful. Also interesting, the song opens up with "Beyond the eyes that track all my moves, kept creating our own drama, an adventure that seemed endless. I realized we're gonna make it." So something is watching them. We know that, and perhaps it's their question mark alter egos. I'm so like, here we are again with it's like Ivan's era all over again. They have, at least there's a Louis. No, there's a Juan too. We saw a Juan in the hood, the black hood. But there's a Louis walking around that, you know, is waking up. Like it seemed like when Louis saw himself, this dark version of himself, a dark hoodie version of himself, that he like something clicked in his brain, right? Like you see like, I don't know, thunderclouds or whatever, and it goes into his eye. And then maybe it's like, oh, I need to get to work. I need to start waking up the rest of my team, you know. Maybe it's just a reminder of who they are, or maybe it's a reminder of the dark forces that are after them. um or maybe that's the awakened version of them. Like I don't know. I haven't thought a lot about it. I mean, I've thought a lot about it, but I can't come to a conclusion of what these darker hooded wearing versions of them are supposed to represent, other than maybe another side of them, or the side that is waiting to wake up, right? But if that's the case, we know Louis was already supposed to be awake, so I don't know. At least from past descriptions, maybe those descriptions weren't totally accurate. Maybe he just woke up right then and there. You know, I don't know. That coin is also interesting. You actually, in History of Kingdom, in Louis's History of Kingdom, Long Live the King, you see him pick up a coin at some point when in that big room where they're all sitting. He actually picks up a coin. So it's interesting that I wonder if that's a callback to that era where he picked up a coin. And maybe that coin is way more important than we think it is. Maybe that coin is actually like a conduit for their coming into who they are, kind of thing. So really interesting. But we know that they're being watched, whether they're being watched by like the evil entities that are after them, or they're being watched by themselves. Whatever the case may be, they're being watched. But and also interesting that they make they kept creating their own drama, so maybe some infighting. An adventure that seemed endless might be a reference to their past, because right now they're just supposed to be ordinary K-pop-y guys. So I don't know. And they realize they're going to make it, so they have faith in themselves. And then the next lyrics that I thought were interesting were: trapped in a pattern, trying to run away, getting the problems right. Failures keep pouring in faster and wilder. So they're not doing well as a K-pop group. If anything, they're having a hard time. They're getting into drama with each other. They're having a lot of problems. They're failing countlessly, and yet they still believe that they just have to take a chance and do it again. That's why they're flipping that coin. They're going to shut off the old self and come into come into their own. The game is in their hands. It's just there's a lot of interesting and almost contradictory phrases in the lyrics, which I don't think is a bad thing, and I don't think was unintentional. I just think it's like there's a war going on, and we're almost seeing it in the lyrics a little bit there. But okay, so let's get to the music video itself. I've already talked a little bit about the things that we see. We see these alternate versions of themselves, or at least of Louis and Juan. I don't remember if there's anybody else. But notably, when Louis is kind of awakened, right, we see him in a room and everybody is sleeping except for him and Juan. Juan is also awake, and he takes the coin out of his hands. So I think that indicates that Juan is the second one to wake up to who he really is. We also see the hooded version of himself. So I think that's the primo indication that Juan is also awake. I theorized that we would see in each music video Louis waking up each member, but it's actually happening a lot faster than I thought it would. So I'm not surprised that we saw Juan. In fact, I was excited to see Juan being the second one to wake up. But interestingly, at the end of the music video, when not quite the full end, but nearing the end of like the song portion, we see Juan flip the coin again, and Dan grabs it and he's holding it. And that made me think, is Dan the next one to wake up, or is Dan already awake? Does he know? Like, because Juan was kind of looking at him like he was surprised to see him grab the coin like that. And I think either that's an indication that he's waking up. He may not be all the way woken up, but he's like waking up, or that he will be the next one. Like we'll see him in the music video. It's going to be maybe focused on him waking up, because this music video is very centric on like Louis and Juan. I think personally. So I think it was supposed to be their kind of like awakening. And I think maybe Dan, that's an indication that maybe Dan is next. Really, we didn't see anything with Jahan or Ivan to indicate that, or even Arthur, to indicate that they were like anywhere near waking up. But Mujin at the very end, we didn't get we didn't get a trailer. Kind of sad that we're losing out, but I know they're just regular K-pop guys now, or they're trying to convince us of that anyway. But Mujin at the very end, he's sitting in front of a television in an empty room, and a hooded figure comes up to him. Mind you, we don't see the face of the hooded figure, so it could have been Mujin's hooded figure, it could have been Louis, it could have been Juan, I don't know. But either way, the hooded figure comes and stands behind the TV, and Mujin just smirks at him. Now, this to me makes me think, okay, Mujin's awake, right? Um, or at the very, but it seems almost like he knew. He wasn't surprised because when Louis saw his other self, seemed like genuinely shocked, right? Like he was like, who's this? This is me, kind of like genuinely shocked about who he was seeing. But Mujin just smirked and seemed pretty like, haha, okay, you finally showed up kind of thing almost. Which is interesting, especially considering where Mujin was technically like left, or where Mujin perished, I guess, in his own kingdom, right? He was underground, steeped in darkness. He took the darkness into himself in order to save his kingdom, and then I'm assuming he perished there and then ended up on Earth, right? So, something like that. We know all of the kings in some way or another kind of, not all of them maybe, but some of them perish to end up on Earth. I mean, it's confusing, but just roll with me here. Um, but I think Mujin, I don't know if he's going to be, because I know kind of like in History of Kingdom season 1, we kind of had like Ivan and like Juan maybe kind of being a little bit like, I don't know where they stand, like especially Ivan for me. Like it felt like Ivan was kind of working with the darkness more than he was working with the light, at least in some cases. And Juan also seemed to mimic this vibe as well. Now, I don't know if that vibe is going forward or if we're going to be looking at different kings, because it says that they keep creating their own drama. So there's some sort of infighting going on here. And, some of them might give into the darkness sometimes, right? So I wonder if that's going to be Mujin in this season. And no confirmation. There's really no way to say, but at the very least, I think we know that Mujin is awake, or he's known like this whole time. Maybe he's known way longer than maybe he's just but why then would he not like connect with Louis and be like, Louis, hey, I know who we were, because I don't think Louis is aware that Mujin knows. Well, really, we don't know. There's not a lot of indication of who knows what. We're just kind of getting an idea. So I know for sure Juan is awake. I think Dan is waking up, and I think Mujin is awake, and obviously Louis has been awake this whole time. So I'm curious to see, especially with that cheeky little smirk, what that's about. I don't think I have a lot else written down. No, pretty much that's it. But I'll be curious to see what happens in the future with them, because I don't know. It's very unique way of storytelling. Flip That Coin is great. I do miss having like one of those sick title tracks that, have like these really cool instruments and stuff like that. But at least Flip That Coin is like a banger. And the rest of the album is really good too. I mean, Kingdom always come out with the greatest things. The only complaint that I really have is how much they whitewash them in this era. They really were like, well, listen, we're going the K-pop route, so we got to whitewash the guys in everything that they're in. So that was a little disappointing to see. I mean, they look whiter than me, and I'm definitely really pale. But, it's it's something that we have to deal with in the K-pop industry, tragically. But I am excited. I will be doing an unboxing for Freedom version. I didn't get both versions this time. But hopefully in the future I will get the other version so I can unbox that for you as well. And then you can see that. But I think this era has been really good. I really like watching the stages. I hope you guys are enjoying watching the stages as well. And obviously support Kingdom. They're working so hard. We love them, and it'll be interesting to see what the stories look like in the future. And if any of these are correct, if you have theories that I certainly missed, I would love to hear your theories about who you think is awake, who you think is still sleeping, who you think we might see wake up next. Like, I really feel like that's kind of what we're looking towards now. Yeah, I wonder what'll happen when they're all wake up. Will we go into a season 3 and maybe them trying to get back to their kingdoms? Like, I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys and have a good one.